everybody, and welcome to another episode of Everything Horror. My name is Tessa Baker, and I am here with the Paul Dulski and
Hello.
Mike the Maniac Myers.
Greetings.
We are here to talk about From Beyond, the Killer Popcorn Monster comic. So, hello, fellas.
Hello.
Hello.
So what are we calling you? Are we calling you the Wicked West of the West, Wicked Witch of the West, or like? So what are we throwing you? Thrown at you is what I should mean.
I don't know. My middle initial is M, so I mean, think of something clever.
Macabre.
There you go.
All right, love it.
All right. So, Mike, where did your love of horror begin? And it made you want to write your own stories about horror?
That it actually started like late one Saturday night. There was a new channel came on cable called the Turner Movie Classics, and they were showing Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World. It was 1950 something, and black and white, but it was scary, jump scares with a little horror of people being taken away, and there was this alien creature, and I was like, what is this thing? And probably like I would say like a year later, John Carpenter brought out his movie The Thing, and of course I didn't connect the two until I watched the John Carpenter thing, because people are all like, this is really good, because he had done his Big Trouble in Little China. And I think that this was coming after it or before it, or one of them had like pumped the other one to where it's like one. I think like the Big Trouble in Little China came first, but it might have been like The Thing came first, but that was sort of a sleeper because E.T. and Goonies came out in that same year, so it sort of got lost. And then Big Trouble in Little China came out, and people were like, "Oh my goodness, this is a great movie!" And then it pumped The Thing. One of those which ways. But anyway, when I watched The Thing, I was like, "Wait a minute, this is just like this 1950 movie." It's been like 30 years, and a lot of people are like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then I went to go look it up, and I found out that it was a book. Well, or more or less a novella from like 1936, I believe it was, and it's called "Who Goes There," and that was an amazing book with just this out in the cold and the horror and the aliens, and they're like something's hunting these people, and I'm like, this is so good, And then people were like, "Oh, well, if you like horror, then you should read Stephen King." And then I went to Stephen King, which he wasn't quite my voice, but he was so popular that I was like, what inspired Stephen King, which then led me to H.P. Lovecraft and Robert Bloch, and those are such great stories. Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. It's like something like a mundane that turns into a horror fest. It was just so gripping and enthralling, and I'm like, I would love to write stories like this, that like H.P. Lovecraft really delved into like the weird science fiction and the things that go bump in the night. Well, it's probably this being from outer space who's come to Earth and is actually a demigod that's controlling people's minds, and there's a giant cult following it. It's like, oh, of course. But to just also dumb it down a little and just have other things that go bump in the night, and have your own little jump scares in the book that, as the reader's reading it, they're just like, I don't want to say sweating, but they're just like gripped in fear, and they don't want to let go of the book, and they're afraid of what's outside the book, that they just continue to keep reading the book. That's what I would love to do, but again, that's all trial and error, and you just sort of hammer away at it. But I guess the short answer is, like, the movie The Thing and the many renditions of it, and how people took like different viewpoints, from the same story, and then other people getting inspiration from other artists, and then it's just finding like all these little hidden horror gems, for like Fright Night, type stuff that is just scary and simple, but then it's like there's just this gore that pops up, and you're just like in shock, and when you walk away, you're like, wow, I was really entertained. And that's sort of what got me into it.
Perfect. And I'm going to touch on that for what you just said, Mike. So, Mike, the first movie that you mentioned, The Thing from Another World, that was the black and white film from 1951.
51, okay.
So the Who Goes There book was published originally in August 1938.
Okay.
And then The Thing for John Carpenter was 1981. Big Trouble in Little China was 1986.
Okay. So The Thing came out and sort of like slid under the radar, but then once Big Trouble in Little China came out, I really think that it's like the Thing was in, because I remember watching it on like ABC TV, like the Friday night movie, edited for TV, it's like they cut it down to like a 2 hour and a half, 2 hour slot, but it was only like an hour and 15-minute movie that they just butchered. But so I think it was, so I'm pretty sure it was like Big Trouble in Little China just is such a cult classic, you know what I mean, that they just like, they were like, oh, if you like John Carpenter, here, watch this on TV. And as I'm watching it, my mom's like, you shouldn't be watching that. But I was just like, I've seen this before. I mean, not this one. It was in black and white.
Oh, boy.
All excellent choices. All excellent films. Okay, so I did get a chance to read your Fallstones, your comics for Fallstone, two of the first two issues, and I actually really enjoyed them, and I like the direction that you went with those. So my question for you on that, real quick, just to touch on Fallstone, your other work, is how did you come up with the concept for it?
Well, Paul and I have like talked about this, but it was sort of funny because I came up with the Fallstone idea, like in the early 90s, maybe even like late 80s. And my whole idea was, it was going to be two brothers, and they travel around battling like demons. And they're actually scarred from a horrific event where both their parents were killed by these demons. So it sort of is in like the family traits, and these guys just go barnstorming across the United States trying to help people and eradicate the evil. I keep saying demons, but just the supernatural haunts that are like troubling the normal mom and pops. And then the show Supernatural came out, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Glad somebody thought of that. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and now I'm focusing on just the one brother, and then there's the other brother is sort of like in the background of the story. But then I incorporated that one of the brothers got married, and then there's a professor, because you always need the old wise scholar to help and teach and train the younger generation to bring them up to speed. So instead of having, like I think the show had like other spirits and angels and other good demons come in and help the brothers out. This is more or less like like a superhero team where like you have the Justice League or the Avengers, where everybody has their own special ability, and really no one person is like the actual hero of the story. But a lot of the main idea of the story I took from the H.P. Lovecraft mythos with the Cthulhu and the great ancient beings that are out in the universe, and each one begot another and then begot another, and then you have so many different little minor eldritch gods and their offspring and their young ones and so on and so forth. So I sort of took, I distilled it down to the simple idea that there's monsters in outer space, very similar, like there could be aliens or other life forms. I mean, the universe is so vast, and just pure math. It's like through statistics, there has to be some sort of life out there, whether it's a plant or a little fish swimming in, a pool, hundreds of millions light years away. There still is, like, there has to be some sort of life out there. Whether it's visited us, that's a completely different topic that we'll save for another time. But I don't think any intelligent life is here on planet Earth anyway.
Not this generation.
Yeah. So yeah, with Fallstone, the protagonist of the story is this businessman who's trying to gain more power. He's got money. He has this, second sight, but he just wants more. And there's this evil, entity is coming directly towards Earth, and he wants to be able to control it. And then now our heroes don't really know that, this bad man or this monster is coming. They just know, like, oh, there's there might be the end of the world coming because all these, juju beings are starting to line up. And let's go find my brother and figure this out. And I just finished the third issue, which I'm waiting to get the popcorn killer, out there all squared away, and then it's like I'll then focus on bringing out Fallstone issue 3. It should be by Christmas, but I'm still waiting for the printer for the popcorn killer monster to come through. But Fallstone is, just an idea, because I've been, ever since I was a kid, just like thinking of adventures and ideas. Like some people say that H.P. Lovecraft has like a little, racism in, that he's racist and there's some racism in his books. And it's like, yeah, there is some racism in his books, but that was the time, I think we've matured as a society that, you can't really say, oh, I'm not going to read that because he's racist. It's like, no, you should read it because it's an interesting story and his ideas are interesting. It's like, what he wrote was that time, that's what was happening at that time. And I'm sure there's, 30 years down the road, they'll probably look at Harry Potter and be like, oh, the child abuse in that book is so disgusting. They should ban Harry Potter. And it's just like, really? You enjoy it for the story, I
thought Harry Potter was part of the banned books.
For some of the Christians, because it's got magic in it.
Yeah,
oh
right.
Boy.
I mean, I kind of want to touch on what Mike was saying too. Like, we'll read like the original tale of Washington Irving, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I mean, that might sound racist, but once again, that was the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, also another good story. That's creepy. Yeah, that's a good creepy because when Ichabod's riding through the forest on the way home and he's getting chased, and there's like demon fire blowing out of the nostrils of the horse. It's just like, you need to go faster, Ichabod. It's a that's a white knuckle book too, or short story.
So
I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. You did. So I read From Beyond the Popcorn Killer, and I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed all the little Easter eggs and everything that you guys tucked in there. That was clever.
Thank you.
So you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Hopefully your head is not swelling.
No, I mean Paul and I had like some decent discussions, and we threw in like a bunch of little stuff, like, this for aliens, and I want to do something that's like the Blob, and just little stuff. But it's like my whole focus with this book. I mean, with or anything that I do, but this one I wanted to just have fun with, was to entertain. You know what I mean? It's like people are going to give $5. I want to give them like $5 of entertainment, and I want, after they're done reading it, to maybe go back and look at some of the art or the stuff in the background, and maybe find something different, some little homage to, some radioactive turtles or something,
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, how did you guys come up with the concept for this?
I'll start this one off real quick, Mike. So
yeah, because I think you were the spearhead. Like, I think you were like, I have this idea, and then it just literally went out like a bacteria. Just
yeah, no, it was back when Tessa and I went on DK Mag podcast one time with Ken, R2, and everybody else, and I forgot how we discussed it and what brought it up, but somehow along the lines I mentioned something about, I know what we should do. We need to create a popcorn monster. And then I was just like, oh my God, I need to copy this right now. So in the episode, I was just like, this is my idea, copyrighted. You hear first from me. It was my idea. So anyway, I remembered that. So when Mike reached out to me wanting to see if I would like to work with him on some project, I was just like, okay. And then somehow like that popped in my brain again, and that's not even supposed to be the pun when I just said that, but it was just like, oh, I know what we can do. I'll throw that out at Mike and see what Mike thinks of this cuckoo idea, and he basically took it from there. But yeah, that's basically just started from just going on DK Mag podcasts and randomly just throwing it out there.
The funny thing is I actually remember that.
Do you remember how that started, babe?
I'm trying to remember exactly how it started, but I know it was said during that episode. I think we were talking about, like, if you could create a whole new monster that nobody's ever created, what would you make?
It was something to that effect.
Something to that effect. And then you just blurted out, oh, somebody should totally make a killer popcorn monster. I got it. I was talking about killer tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's, yes. Oh,
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I was talking about it. And then you're like, oh, that would be so awesome if somebody made like a killer popcorn monster.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm copywriting it right now. You all heard it.
You heard it here first on DK Mag. Yeah.
So Paul came up with it, and then you just basically took the ball and ran with it, Mike. And then you guys just popped from there.
a little, there. I took Paul's kernel of an idea, and then I let it simmer under some heat, and it popped into this 24-page comic. Yeah, popped into existence. Paul had like the idea, and then I just laid it out better, and then Paul added some little Easter eggs, and then I was like, all right, I already had some Easter eggs in there, and I put in a couple more that were like also visual. But yeah, I'm from. Is that you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because I think that's coming my way. I think I have a thunderstorm alert until like 9. That's pretty loud. I heard it all. Are you guys okay?
Yeah,
So
because
far.
I did. Yeah, because I did notice the alien Easter egg and the blob Easter egg and the Are You Afraid of the Dark Easter egg and what was the other one?
Teenage
Shit.
Mutant Ninja Turtle? Or
Yeah,
maybe
well,
All Real Monsters?
Real Monsters. Yep, and the toxic waste. Yep, I did get quite a few of the Easter eggs, and I was thoroughly entertained by that. I was like, "Oh, these are so tastefully placed in here, and it just lines up perfect. It's just awesome." So,
Thank you. Yeah,
you're
also a little
welcome.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre going on
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah. So
I feel like
No.
we're forgetting one, but that's fun.
yeah, I know. Let's leave it for the readers, I guess.
So what was
Exactly.
it? So what was it like working together on this?
Mike was a total pain. No, I'm joking.
No,
I'm joking.
I was so slow.
Well, in all defense, he was kind of slow, but that was not because of his problem. It was because of the stupid Adobe. Let's just be fair about that.
Yeah.
But no, it was Adobe's
Technology.
fault. It was technology.
And both Paul
Technology
and I,
has failed us.
we started new jobs, so we were trying to focus on that, and that took away some time. Then Photoshop, dropped on my end, logistically. And plus there was the, pandemic that happened. So, that sort of put us on like a year, hiatus before we got back to each other. Cause, we were sort of hoping like, yeah, we'll talk at the next convention. And then
Yes.
2 years
What
went
convention?
by.
Yeah.
And then, and then it's like, then we started talking, via text, and that was slow. And then we exchanged emails with script ideas, some edits, and then some quick drawings, and then I went forward with drawing everything and sending it to Paul, make sure it was okay. Also to check on the edits too. So he was also my editor, my sounding board. Because he caught a couple, like a good handful of stuff, and it was just like, what, that is awesome. That I think that's going to change a lot. So adding some more Easter eggs to it, that was helpful.
There was definitely one Easter egg that I'm not going to flat out say, but it was the one that I really wanted in there just because it was like, it was literally one of the type of TV shows back in the day that every Friday or Saturday night, I can't even remember when they came on anymore, but I want to say Friday night. But, I would like be ready for that next spooky episode. And I just had to throw that Easter egg in there because I thought it would be perfect for the name. And that's all I'm going to leave it as.
Yeah.
So, but I know originally Mike didn't put it in there, and I'm like, oh, I don't see the name of this. I'm like, Mike, I wanted one Easter egg in here. Yes, if there was one Easter egg I really wanted in here, it would be that, just because, I think everybody would understand why once they see it. So,
So how was it for you guys taking an inanimate object and turning it into the stuff of nightmares?
Well, I mean, we were just talking about it. Killer tomatoes. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I know you and I were talking, and you were talking about the possibility, Paul, of taking and creating a killer leaf.
Yes, that is now under the copyright of me, Hua. So, yeah, here we go again. You heard it here first on this podcast, and if anybody steals my idea, I kill you. All right. Anyway, moving on. Yes, I was gonna actually present that idea to Mike actually to see what he thought about a killer leaf. I actually started writing some ideas down. The only thing is, I probably need Mike's help of creating how this leaf can travel around seeking vengeance on people, on humanity, is what I should say.
All right, so it sounds like he needs to pick at your brain and see what other ideas you can pop to come up with.
It's gonna take him a while because it's not a lot in there. He's gonna be like poking around, going like, "Where is it? I don't see it. Where's this brain?
What the hell?"
All I'm doing is just sneezing. Where's that brain?
So there's been talk that this is a one-shot. Is there any chance that the dreaded popcorn monster may be making a return in the From Beyond series?
Now, originally, when Mike and I were first talking about this, Mike did send me an email at first that we're talking about the, going through the script. And somewhere in the message, he also said something about possibility of a sequel, and he gave the title, which I don't know if I should say that title yet, but if so, I mean, I'll let Mike do it because it was his idea, because he was already thinking of a sequel, but I guess it wouldn't really take too much away considering it was originally in the original draft of Killer Popcorn, but we ended up taking it out for a possible second part of the story. So, I mean, it's all up to Mike now.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure, Paul.
I know. I apologize.
We could say it. It's because you know how as I was producing the comic, it's like Paul's like, "Can I post this?" I'm like, "No, hold on, stop. I gotta let me I gotta do the line art on it and then add some word balloons." And then I sent him something else to look at, and he goes, "Can I post this?" And I was like, "No, I'd rather wait till I was like farther along because I don't." And that's every time I said to him something, he's like, "Can I post?"
It wasn't everything.
Yeah.
Mike.
and I was constantly like, no, because I like, see, I don't want to say that there's going to be a part 2 because I'm sort of sitting here going like, I don't know if there's going to be a part 2 because we haven't really written anything. I haven't drawn anything except for the first issue. Well, except for this one shot. But I'm sitting here being like, yeah, there's definitely something there. It's just physically not there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It's there, but it's not there. But it would be interesting to see a Popcorn Creeper sequel.
Yeah, and I would love to do a sequel, and I know that we have enough stuff to make like a sequel or turn it into like a Child's Play-esque, sequel where, that it talks and it's like, I want to be your friend
to the end.
Until the
friends till the end.
But that's, I mean, I would have to fill it with every kernel of popcorn humor that I could think of. So
it's something to possibly come back to in the future. Yes,
right. The other thing that Paul and I have kicked around just a little because we're still trying to get the first comic out. I mean,
which comes out very soon.
Well, it comes out very soon, yeah. But we're we were kicking around the idea because we're calling it From Beyond ... that this could be an anthology type work where the next one shot From Beyond could be something completely different that doesn't have to do anything with the popcorn monster. It could be
maybe it could be Paul's Killer Leaf.
Yeah, Paul's Killer Leaf. It could be like you mentioned, Fallstone. There could be a one shot story
crossover
crossover from Fallstone. Or
Oh,
you know,
that would be interesting.
maybe one of Paul's other comics. You know, like the sock hop killer. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
There
There's an
could
idea.
be a continuation with that, a sequel with that brought into the From Beyond with, you know, we'll work with David and, you know, Paul and myself. And I don't know. You know, there's other stuff. Plus, you know, there's a lot of great talent out there. You know, maybe somebody has an idea that's already put together and they just need, you know, some sort of financing or some help or whatever, and maybe we could throw that under the From Beyond umbrella. You know, I don't know. This could turn into a huge publishing adventure, but it's also like, well, we don't. It's not there. It's the idea, you know, with a bunch of possibilities, but you know, nothing concrete. Do you agree or disagree?
I was going to also say I would also take the From Beyond series or anthology, as Mike is talking, almost like look at it like the Twilight Zone. And I'm
Yes.
talking the good Twilight Zone, not.
With William Shatner. On the wing.
Oh man, yeah, no, no. I love the idea to work with other people. I think that would be brilliant because I think a lot of time with indie artists and indie creators in general, like Mike and I, you know, we don't really get a whole lot of spotlights per se, that, you know, our work can kind of get thrown underneath a bus while somebody else's work, who pretty well known, is the one driving the bus, you know. So I mean, it's a nice way to, you know, to get out there. That's why David reached out to me originally, was because, you know, it was a good way to try to start getting my name out there for stuff. And then you know, and then Mike reached out to me and we're like, sure, let's work together. Just let me know when you're ready, you know. And like Mike was saying, pandemic hit, this and that hit. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
so now it's like I'm just trying to, you know, stand up and get back on my feet again after the whole pandemic debacle. You know, and hopefully, like with this comic, and then I'll get the third issue of Fallstone out, and then start going back to conventions, and you know, maybe Paul and I will be standing at some tables, you know, slopping our stuff.
That actually,
we could give out bags of popcorn to people.
That's actually what I was going to ask you both next, was what we can expect from you both in the future on the horizon.
Oh. I would say possibly more weird ass stuff to come through my brain to Mike, and Mike can just take that and run with it. Because you know, I think that's one reason why I want to say Mike and I work together real well, is because we both kind of give each other the freedom. And if we don't like something, we'll say it. And if we need something changed, we'll kind of go back and forth. Like, do you like this idea? Do you not like this idea? Do you like this? Do you like that? Speaking of which, Mike, you know, I know Tessa's supposed to be the one asking questions, but I got to get this off my chest. I got two questions I wanted to ask you anyway, since this would be the perfect opportunity. As long as Tessa doesn't mind.
I don't mind. I only have one more thing to ask after, so to kind of wrap up the end of the interview. But go ahead with your two questions, as long as that's good with Mike.
I guess so. I'm being recorded here for prosperity or legal.
There's no gun pointed to Mike's head right now as we speak. I mean,
you are not legally obligated
right now.
Right now.
Later. Sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
So, Mike, you know, we kind of mentioned the whole COVID-19 BS that had taken over the world for the past couple of years now. So, anyway, when last we talked, which was September 2019, I think it was, or November. I can't remember.
Oh, and face-to-face talk.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So anyway, because it was at the convention for Albany Comic Book con. I think they changed their name. I think twice. So anyway, I think that was the last time we did talk face to face, and I was asking you about Fallstone 3. I want to say so, and I want to say at the time you were sort of working on it at 2019, or maybe I was getting the concept, the script going or something. So I guess what I wanted to ask you is, how much has the pandemic affected your work of, of wanting to create versus, now, you were saying Fallstone 3 is now finally available.
That's it's a good question. I'm just trying to figure out like how honest I should be, but I guess if I could keep the answer short, it was
no problem.
The whole pandemic and the whole world mentality, and there was a lot of unnecessariness, so to speak, in between protocols and people treating other people and people dying. There was just a lot of unnecessary stuff that happened, and I felt that people and our government weren't focused on the right thing. But then again, whenever something crazy happens, they never focus on the right thing anyway. We end up going to this country instead of that country, to take out our grievances, and when they attack us. But it's just, I was angry, sad, and demotivated every day from social media, from the news, from just passing people in the grocery store. It was. I'm not actually. I was going to relate it to some, but like one time I was in a store, and it was, I thought I was. Well, I was surrounded by friends, but there was one person who was there with their nephew, and I said hello, and they moved their nephew away from me and on the other side of them because of COVID-19. And
we changed everybody's demeanors or behavior.
Exactly. And I know that they were protecting their nephew, but it was a little, I was hurt. Heartbreaking. I was hurt. And, it's, for any of my art, which, I mean, I got a lot of stuff set up behind me. It's so that I can come down, sit down, and within 10 minutes just start doodling, drawing, sketching, painting, whatever. So I don't have to do the whole setup time. It's already set up and ready for me to rock and roll. If I'm not in a good mood or a good mindset, all that I'm doing is I'm like grumbling to myself like Ebenezer Scrooge as I'm trying to draw. And it's like I'm not getting like happy lines or smooth lines. I'm getting these jagged, dark etches on the piece of paper. So yeah, in 2019, it's like I was, full steam ahead. I was, living off the juices and the energy from the other artists at the Comic-Con. I was like 6 months away from publication. And then, because I think we met in October of 2019, and then in January 2020, somebody flushed the toilet and the whole world went with it. Plus, also on semi-personal note, my daughter was studying abroad in Ireland at the time that they shut down the whole world. So she literally got on the last plane out of Ireland to come to the United States. And her mother and I were like sitting at home, just pacing back and forth, like, oh my goodness. And somebody's like, hey, you need to put your mask above your nose. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? That's really not the most important thing right now. But they don't know. And I don't know what's going on with them. I don't. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was just it was just that 2020 was just a tough year, and then 2021 people started to come back, but a lot of professional artists, they make money from these Comic Cons, and I didn't, since the spaces were limited because they had moved all the tables apart, they did like social distance, I guess it is social distancing, at these cons, that I was like, I'm not going to sign up to get back into the convention circuit, because there's actually literally starving artists, because the whole last year they couldn't make any money because there was no conventions. So I'm like, I'll just take a back seat, because I have a job. I'm an essential employee for the city. You know what I mean? And before, I was an essential employee making, helping making microchips for, the defibrillators and thermometers. So it's like I had a job. You know what I mean? These artists who I admire and appreciate, who draw comic books or write novels, or write TV shows or whatever, they haven't been able to make that extra cash on the side. And as you know, it's like it's very rarely are you a millionaire from writing or drawing. You know what I mean? So 2021, I just took a step back and let other people, do it. The other artists, be at the convention. So yeah, so I didn't have the, the meet and greet or the shaking of the hands or the, with the other artists and creators to be inspired to, like I said, just siphon their creative juices and their creative energy to then go home and take that, whirlwind of, power and just start pounding out art and writing and drawing and painting and all that. Like I said, for like 2.5 years, I was just sort of in a funk, and then I started a new job and a new path in life. And I'm way happier. And I'm starting to create more. I did our story together. I'm doing some painting. I'm painting little miniatures. If you go to my Instagram account, that's where I post my little board game miniatures. And then I got another the Fallstone comic book, and I have 3 novellas that I pulled, blew the dust off, pulled out of the back, and I'm running through like another edit on them, now that I have fresh eyes, to see how they look, to see if maybe I could put together like a short story collection of some of my stuff. But yeah, it's I went into just a funk to where I just couldn't. I wasn't happy, and I couldn't get that that sadness out, so that I could start working on the comics or start doing art, because I was just in a funk. But now it's better. So yeah, that's the to answer your first question. And your second one was,
I didn't even ask it yet, so
I know.
No, but I know, but I feel you 100%. Tessa knows the struggle that we had with Terror Trail. When 2020 hit, Mike, we were trying to do a Kickstarter for our second short film called Terror Trail, and by the time the world went to shit, it was kind of like, well, do we try to do this? Do we try to be safe about it? Blah blah blah. Anyway, so we wanted to do it to be safe, obviously. Luckily, we had some footage that we started back in 2019. That I sort of used as like a teaser. So that really helped to kind of motivate me to want to do it more too. But like we postponed Terror Trail, the first one, for a year. We were like, okay, let's see what 2021 is, because this is kind of scary right now. And then 2021 came, and it was just like, yeah, I don't know about this. And then like we finally got it done, though. We somehow finally managed to pull through and be like, all right, look, I just need 4 hours of your time. Let's get this done. Boom. So we did that. And then in 2022, I'm trying to remember, we started talking about Terror Trail 2 like back in 2021. So we already knew what we wanted, everything else. The problem at the time was how much material was going to cost to create the special effects, which was our monster, which was the Wendigo. And by the way, shout out to our friend Katie Kingworthy, who created a fantastic Wendigo. So if anybody's wondering, we did not use like CGI. We literally used a person in a suit, basically. Anyway, yeah, we did that, filmed it all in one day with that, because of everybody's ridiculously tight schedule. That I'm surprised we didn't push it into like this year or something like that. But anyway, like, yeah, I feel you, Mike. And anyway, the last question I wanted to ask you, which is going to be hopefully a shorter answer than what we just got, because I know that question was kind of personal, but I just wanted to,
Yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah. And so my last question for you before Tessa asks her last question is, what made you want to, when you were starting your comics, right, and you wanted to create and get it out there, right? I know you have another series, so I don't really know if Fallstone was first or if it was the other one, the Hot Plains or whatever. But so what made you want to self-publish per se versus, trying to reach out to a actual publisher?
I mean, I did send out some submissions to, some comic book publishers, and I never heard back, shockingly. So I'm sure it got stuck in the tidal wave of other submissions that they tend to get. I when I just happened to luck into, meeting some of the artists and writers. I mean, they offered to like take my idea and show it to their editor, but I'm just like, I don't think I'm good enough or have enough background or clout to really, give this idea to an editor. Yeah, it might be a good idea, but then I don't know how to create it or implement it, or I could know how to create it, implement it, but it also might not be a good idea. So I didn't want to like use my use my clout with my friends to like push this forward. It's like I'd rather have something that I knew was good and entertaining and also had like a lot of meat on the bone, and then be like, oh, hey, can you maybe get me a sit down with your editor and or whatnot, or have a couple, have a proposal written up and have my friends like proofread it and give me some pointers on what I need to do, wear a red tie or something like that. But yeah, like I said, it's like Fallstone, I had that idea decades ago, but I didn't really know how to, I've never made a comic book before. So that's where Hot Plains came in. That was actually my, test child. And I've always had wanted this idea of, which could be another, I could go a different route, do like another short story in our From Beyond anthology. It's like an endless. But the whole, I think it's from like the Tibetan monks who believe that if you die in your dreams, you die in real life. So I always so I took that idea of like somebody who's fighting in their dreams because something's trying to kill them, and then I'm like, well, what's trying to kill them? And then I'm like, but I also need another vehicle to explain this world, because people are going to be tripping on, what I'm trying to do and trying to explain at the same time. So that's where I brought in these spirit animals that connect these humans in their dream state to this dream world, and they give them powers and abilities, and I guess sustain them while they're in the the dreamlands. So then I started working on the hot planes, which honestly, it's like I wrote I wrote the 3 issues in, God, like under a month. It was, I was like, I just need to tell a story, and here's my quick plot points, boom, boom, boom. And yeah, I just wrote, I wrote it, and as I broke it up, it's like, oh, it ended up, I think, being 77 pages, which, divide that by 3 is close to a 24-page comic. I just had to add some filler stuff at the end. And, what I was doing was just trying to hone my skills and to understand the art and pretty much the layout. And that's why the covers are also really simple, and there isn't like a lot of shading in the book. I just watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and yeah, it's like I would, because at the time I was working 12-hour shifts. So on my off days, which were, 3 days on, 4 days off, and then it was 4 days on, 3 days off. So on my 3 days off or my 4 days off, it's like I would wake up and watch like 2 or 3 hours of YouTube videos. Somebody would give like a good coloring tip of like, do this, go to normal, do this, go to 70%, and blah. And I'd be writing it down, and then I would go downstairs and I would implement what I just learned into the page that I'm coloring, or adjusting the curves or the levels to make the blackers black and the whiters white, so that I can, separate the line art from the background. And yeah, then it's just, coloring is just like a coloring book. It's just, for me, it takes a while. It just takes. That's why the Popcorn Killer's in black and white, because it was like, Paul and I have been talking, for 4 years about this comic book, and I'm like, listen, if you want it done, it's like, it's going to be black and white, because then when it's like I can knock it out, and there it is. If I sat down and colored it, this was gonna be another year in production, just with what I have going on with other stuff. But yeah, so the hot planes happened because I wanted to do Fallstone, but I wanted to have a decent knowledge or a good solid base before I went into doing Fallstone. So I did the hot planes, which was a 3-issue shot, throw it out there. There's like it has a cliffhanger ending. So if I want to go back, to tell the continuing adventures, it's there, but it's also like the story is done. It's complete. But yeah, it's like, I just wanted to take that knowledge, especially then after I was done and sending it to the printer, I wanted to see what it looked like from the printer. It's like, how do the colors match what's on the screen to what I want, Plus, if I put this word balloon here, how does that look versus over here? And it's like, I also learned a lot from reading comic books and like looking at the how the page is laid out. But you still have that question. It's like, well, why did they put that there? Why didn't they put it on the other side? And then it's like, when you do that, you're like, oh, it makes the gutter all cluttered, or oh, this overlays on this, or a lot of the times, like with my word balloons, is to fill up like blank areas on the page, because I don't know what to draw there. It's like it's a guy talking. Do I put a car there? Do I put a chair? Do I put a lamp? Is he holding a book? So yeah. Yeah, so and I do like the hot planes. I mean, it is a really good story, and I like the idea, but I also want to go back and like, adjust and change some of the colors and do a little cleanup on the hot planes, and then, probably put that back out on like, Amazon to sell with like, referencing with the From Beyond the Killer Popcorn Monster, which should be out like this Halloween, available on Amazon and Kindle.
Perfect, man. Yeah, no, yeah, that's all good, man. Hey, I'll be right there. I'll be right there to help you if you need any help with that too. So, yeah. I mean, I just think, I still remember like the first time I like met you, which was 2017, 18, somewhere around that neighborhood, and you had both the Fallstones, and it was just like, you came off as a great guy and stuff, and I'm just like, it's just like, I get
you
it.
fool!
What was I in for? Oh man.
Yeah, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll give the mic back over to Tessa for her final question.
Hello, Tess.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Paul.
Hi, babe.
We put her to sleep, Paul.
I know.
I was just sitting here listening to you guys talk. I may have needed to go grab coffee a little bit, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Wow, we were that burned.
No, it's just a long day at work, and this humidity is just horrid. So, anyways, so the last thing I wanted to ask was, so Mike, where can people find you and keep up to date with your work?
Oh goodness. Actually, I gotta look that up. I believe on Facebook I am just MJ Myers, Myers on Facebook, and on Instagram. Whoops. I am
MJ Myers
463. Yeah. MJ Myers 463. One line. It's not hyphenated or anything like that. Yeah. So I right now I'm just forwarding the stuff that Paul puts up, which is fantastic. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
But also I put, you can also, you'll be able to contact me through Instagram or my Facebook page. And if they want, they could also reach me at mjmyers463@gmail.com. I'm always open to, answer questions and, to give people help or maybe point them in, the correct direction. I just, I don't mind, because I was there myself at one point. And no, it's this community, the artists, comic book writers, artists community. It's a very helpful community. The people that I've met so far, even the big name people that I met, through my adventures, they've always just been really nice, very helpful. They're always talking tips and tricks of the trade. They are, they're good people to, have a sandwich with, and just sit down and talk about old war stories, or, their mistakes that they found that they corrected that, while working in the business. So yeah, if they need to check out what I'm doing, then definitely follow me on Instagram, or Facebook, or send me an email, and I will gladly respond.
All right, so Paul, same thing. Where can people find you and keep up to date with you and any projects that you may be working on in the future?
Well, first off, Mike forgot, I think, one thing. Mike forgot his website, I want to say. I didn't hear that pop up. It's mjmyerscomicart.com. So there you go, Mike.
Thank you.
And for me, I I guess you can go to. Man, I'm gonna have to look at this up.
Oh, you probably got a list, I imagine.
No, it's
We're so
there it is.
bad.
It's pauldulski.wordpress.com. That's where all my links are, even all the projects I've done and all my social media links, all right there. So, and you can even contact me through that website.
Very
so I'll
good.
say it again: my name.wordpress.com.
Oh, hi, Ryder. Well, I want to thank you both so much for your time.
You're very
And
welcome, babe.
talking about From Beyond, the killer popcorn monster, and touching on a little bit about Fallstone.
Well, no, thank you for bringing that up. I always feel weird bringing up my stuff when I'm trying to like promote like the current thing.
I just like everybody to have like an idea, kind of
Who
sort
you
of like a
are.
backstory of who you are and some of your previous work. But yes, everybody, when
I was going to quote Steve Martin.
But yes, when the From Beyond, the killer popcorn monster comes out, everybody needs to go out and order it on Amazon. I know it's going to be posted there first, so everybody needs to go out and order it when it goes up. Mike was saying something about, what was it, October, or
Yeah.
when are you guys thinking?
Okay. So the Kindle version is actually right now available to pre-order for $5, and the release date for the Kindle version is Halloween 2023. As for the paperback, I actually gotta get Mike to correct one thing for me for the cover, and then I just gotta re-upload the cover, and basically it's just like, all right, Mike, tell me when to hit that button, and I'll do it.
Roger. Yeah, and I have sent the files off for the printer, so I'm waiting for like a physical copies from my end. And I think that once, because I don't know, I sort of feel weird like by saying like, oh, you can get it from Amazon, and they're like, okay, well, I'm talking to you right now, so can I buy it from you right now? So I just and it's one of those like it's got to be in the next week or two that we'll have the actual physical copies. So mid-September. Yeah, and then you said Kindle is the end of October. So
Nice, very nice. So again, I'm sorry, what, Paul?
I was saying, yeah.
Just throwing a random in there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was gonna remind Mike that Mike, you know what you should just do now, so you can start promoting it more to yourself. Is you should get onto your website and add the comic so people can pre-order through your website.
Well, I got to fix the cover now, so it's a good thing I didn't upload it.
Hopefully, there are like 5 or 10 things don't pop up that need to be fixed. Knock on wood.
Wow.
One more thing.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
One more thing.
That's me. Yeah, no. One more thing.
One more.
No. Is there anything more that either one of you have to add before we wrap this up?
No, just thank you very much for finding the time to coordinate this and get us together again.
Oh, yeah,
always a pleasure.
Well, thank you for that.
You did a fantastical job, babe.
Fantastical job. I'll take it. Gold star.
That's right. Gold star.
All right. Well, I have a good evening, gentlemen, and I was your hostess, Tessa Baker, and I was joined by Paul Dulski and Mike the Maniac Myers to talk about From Beyond, the Popcorn Killer. And you guys
Yes.
stay scared.
Ooh.
Ooh.